That's more better.
Hollywood has given us some of the greatest performances in cinematic history. But let's be honest, not every role can be a winner. And sometimes even the best actors can deliver a flop.
He won't be asking for anymore.
Number 20. Dennis Hopper as King Koopa in Super Mario Bros. 1993. Alright, let's begin our list with a performance that left us scratching our heads. Dennis Hopper, a respected actor, took on the role of King Koopa in the Super Mario Bros. Adaptation back in 1993. Now you might be asking yourself, why did he do that? Well, it's safe to say that it was probably the money that lured him into this adventure. The Super Mario Bros. Movie was infamous for being a train wreck waiting to happen. So what did Hopper bring to the table as King Koopa? Well, he added a zesty, campy touch that had us cringing. His portrayal was so two-dimensional and over-the-top that it bordered on laughable. Picture a man going crazy on autopilot and you get the idea. Now don't get us wrong, Dennis Hopper was a brilliant actor in many other roles, but this one? It was fascinating in a weird way, but ultimately forgettable. We've seen more impressive villainy on our favorite CW shows. Number 19. Jessica Lange as Martha Baring in Hush, 1998. Jessica Lange, a powerhouse actress known for her outstanding performances in such films as Tootsie, Country, Sweet Dreams, and Music Box. But there's one role that stands out for all the wrong reasons. Her turn as Martha in the 1998 thriller Hush. Now, Jessica Lange has this incredible talent for playing mentally troubled characters, and we've seen her nail it time and time again. But Hush is a whole different story. Jessica tried her best, but she was stuck with a script that, let's just say, was less than stellar. It's one of those scripts that can make even the most talented actor look like they're overacting in the most ridiculous way possible. Lange's performance ends up looking so ridiculously overacted that you can't help but cringe. Number 18. Leonardo DiCaprio as Richard in The Beach, 2000. Everyone knows Leonardo DiCaprio, the man who's practically become Hollywood royalty. But you know, even the best have their off days. In the 90s and early 2000s, Leo's reputation wasn't as solid as it is today. Sure, he had moments of brilliance like What's Eating Gilbert Grape. But there were still some who wondered if he was just a flash-in-the-pan heartthrob. And then came The Beach in 2000, directed by Danny Boyle. It's based on Alex Garland's novel, and it should have been a recipe for success, right? Wrong. The movie's about an American college student who's searching for adventure in Southeast Asia. He ends up on a strange island that's anything but paradise. You'd think it would be exciting, but oddly enough, the beach is a complete bore. What's even harder to reconcile is how spastic Leo's character is in the film. At one point, he starts imagining that he's inside a video game. That's right. And it's as cringeworthy as it sounds. Leo's performance in The Beach was so off that it earned him a Razzie nomination. For a moment, it looked like he might be headed for the direct-to-video graveyard. But luckily, The Beach was just a blip on the radar. In 2002, he bounced back with Gangs of New York, which marked the beginning of his fantastic collaboration with Martin Scorsese. They've given us some truly beautiful cinematic moments together. Number 17. Shaquille O'Neal is the biggest little genie you've ever seen in Kazam, 1996. Now we're going to explore the magical world of Kazam, starring the one and only Shaquille O'Neal as a genie. Yep, you heard that right. Shaq, the basketball legend, decided to try his hand at acting in this kid's flick. But come on, we know it's a kid's movie, so should we really be expecting top-tier acting here? Well, let's just say Shaq didn't quite hit a slam dunk in this one. Kazam is one of those films meant for the youngest of audiences, and it doesn't hold back on the cheesiness. We're talking poor acting, unlikable characters, and an overall lousy film. This is a comedy that isn't funny, an action movie with terrible set pieces, and a fantasy movie with plot holes you could ride a magic carpet through. So what did Kazam have going for it? Well, it had A-list grade name appeal thanks to Shaq. But sometimes even a big name can't save a movie from being a complete dud. Number 16. Robert De Niro as fearless leader in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, 2000. The legendary Robert De Niro. Now, we all know he's capable of some mind-blowing performances, but even the greats have their off days. And for De Niro, one of those off days happened in the year 2000 when he took on the role of fearless leader in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. By the 80s and 90s, De Niro had already solidified his place as one of Hollywood's finest. He had a string of incredible movies under his belt. But then came Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was probably one of the worst choices an actor of his caliber could make. His performance as fearless leader is, well, it's terrible. Painfully so. Watching De Niro in this movie is like watching a fish try to ride a bicycle. He's so out of place, it's almost like he's making a mockery of himself. Number 15. Forrest Whitaker as Cerr in Battlefield Earth, 2000. The man who gave us the terrifying performance as Idi Amin in The Last King of Scotland. That role alone showcased his incredible talent. But even the best actors can hit a rough patch, and for Whitaker, that patch was Battlefield Earth in the year 2000. In this colossal mess of a flick, he showed us a side we wish we hadn't seen. He's practically unwatchable as some kind of dumb, freaky guy. And when we say unwatchable, we mean it. His performance in Battlefield Earth is like nails on a chalkboard. Loud, brash, and unbearable for the most part. It's clear that even hamming it up to the max isn't everyone's cup of tea. Number 14. Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Two-Face in Batman Forever, 1995. Known for his highly natural, subtle acting style, we've seen Tommy Lee Jones slip into roles and completely become the character he's playing. But unfortunately, there's one role that stands out for all the wrong reasons. His turn as Harvey Dent in Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever. To be fair, the entire Batman trilogy from Schumacher is loaded with overacting. But even in that context, Tommy Lee Jones feels like he's on a whole other planet with his performance as Two-Face. You know it's bad when a performance becomes so over the top that it borders on comical. That's exactly what happened here. Tommy Lee Jones, the actor known for his subtlety, suddenly goes all in on the hammy acting, and it's downright laughable. It's almost as if he's in a competition with Jim Carrey, who's playing the Riddler, to see who can chew the scenery the most. The result? A movie that's so overacted and overly kitsch that it's almost painful to watch. For sure, we respect all of these actors and the work they do. We just recommend you appreciate their talent in other movies. Maybe a Men in Black movie night is just what the doctor ordered. Number 13. Jon Voight as Paul Cerrone in Anaconda, 1997. Jon Voight, who's graced us with some of the finest roles in American cinema, decided to take a detour into the wild world of Anaconda in 1997. And let's just say it's a performance you won't forget, but not for the right reasons. Voight's performance in Anaconda is a head-scratcher. Everything about it is utterly ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about a guy who decided to have some fun with a script and went all in. His accent in the movie is just bizarre, and he chews the scenery like it's a 5-star meal. But here's the twist. It's so bad that it's actually weirdly funny. Voight takes this cringeworthy film and turns it into something strangely entertaining. It's the kind of stuff only a great actor could pull off. Number 12. Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford in Mommy Dearest, 1981. Faye Dunaway has given us some of the most memorable performances in American cinema, with movies like Chinatown, Network, and Bonnie and Clyde. But you know, there's always one role that stands out, and for Dunaway, it's her portrayal of Joan Crawford in Mommy Dearest. To be sure, the film was controversial to say the least. But Dunaway takes it to a whole new level. Her performance is so wildly over the top and painfully overdramatic that it's like something you can't look away from. She chews every single scene and brings a strange entertainment value to the film. You can't help but watch in shock and awe as she goes all out. To be clear, Faye Dunaway is far, far better than what Mommy Dearest allowed her to be. It's just one of those performances that makes you wonder, what were they thinking? Number 11. Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin, 1997. Batman and Robin almost won a Razzie for the worst film ever. And right in the middle of this cinematic disaster, we have Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the evil villain, Mr. Freeze. Schwarzenegger delivered so many bad puns and corny cracks that you almost forgot about the egregious missteps of George Clooney's Batman. What's worse, Arnold's performance was so bad that he earned himself a Razzie nomination as Mr. Freeze. Yup, you heard that right. He was nominated for being so, well, terrible. You can laugh all you want, but the Terminator walked away from this disaster with a cool $25 million in his pocket. Number 10. Al Pacino as John Milton in The Devil's Advocate, 1997. Al Pacino, a legend who's given us iconic performances in films like The Godfather, Scarface, and Serpico. But oh boy, there's one film where he went a little off the rails, The Devil's Advocate. It's been said that Pacino's performance in this movie is so hammy and ridiculous that he makes Tony Montana look like Michael Corleone. And you know what? It's a funny statement, but it's hard to deny the truth of it. The Devil's Advocate might just be the culmination of everything that was bad about Pacino's infamous "look at me while I'm acting" style. Sure, there are moments in the film that are entertaining, but what Pacino does here is chew the screen and chew it some more until you're left wondering if it's even the same guy who immortalized Michael Corleone, Sonny Wartzik, and Frank Serpico. He shouts and hollers for no apparent reason, and it's just so unbelievably ludicrous that it's hard to take seriously. You're watching and you think to yourself, this just cannot be him. Number 9. Angelina Jolie as Olympus in Alexander, 2004. While she may not be the finest actress of all time, she can act, and she can act really well. We've seen Angelina Jolie explode onto the screen as a mentally disturbed woman in Girl Interrupted. And she left us with memorable performances in A Mighty Heart and Changeling. But every actor has an off day, and for Angelina, it was Alexander. Now, we're not saying it was her fault. Sometimes even the best actors can't save a sinking ship, and Alexander may have been one of those ships. In the film, she plays the mother of Alexander the Great, and her role is almost supposed to be villainous. So you'd expect some venom, right? Well, here's the problem. She doesn't display the slightest bit of evilness in her role and falls flat on emotion. Now, you could argue that maybe it was the script that led her astray, but regardless, it's a highly forgettable performance in her career. Number 8. George Clooney as Batman/Bruce Wayne in Batman and Robin, 1997. This film's failures are well documented, and comic book fans, well, they can't make peace with this debacle. But what we're here to talk about today is George Clooney's portrayal of Batman and Bruce Wayne. Be prepared, because this one's a crime against humanity. Batman's been portrayed by various actors over the years, and George Clooney, well, he had the dubious honor of delivering a performance so atrocious that it made you long for the days of a 70-plus Adam West slipping into a pair of gray tights. When Clooney plays Bruce Wayne, he comes off as smug. And when he puts on the batsuit, he's still smug. That small, tight-lipped smile he flashes? The movie is filled with cringeworthy one-liners like, "This is why Superman works alone," and "Hey, Freeze, the heat is on." We're not even sure what that means, but it doesn't make it any less painful to watch. But give Clooney some credit. He owned up to his bat failure. He apologized to Comic-Con fans, regular fans, and even the original TV Batman, Adam West. He said, quote, "I was playing Batman and I wasn't good at it. It wasn't a good film. But what I learned from that failure was that I had to relearn how I was working." Clooney realized that taking on the role of Batman meant that he was being held responsible for the film itself. Number 7. Al Pacino as Tom Dobb in Revolution, 1985. Let's travel back to 1985, when Al Pacino hit us with a movie that you've probably forgotten all about, and for good reason. It's called Revolution, and it's one of those films that makes you wonder, what were they thinking? In this historical mess, Pacino plays a fur trapper who somehow finds himself tangled up in the American Revolutionary War. Now that might sound like an intriguing premise, but trust us, it's anything but. The recipe for disaster here includes a poor script, subpar directing, and Al Pacino delivering a performance that's so far from his usual brilliance, you might think he wandered onto the wrong set. Pacino appears like he's auditioning for a third-rate gangster picture. His accent is thick and sloppy, and the overall result is just embarrassing. This is the kind of role that got him a Razzie nomination, which is never a good sign. Number 6. Dick Van Dyke's legendary Cockney in Mary Poppins, 1964. Dick Van Dyke's accent in the 1964 classic children's film Mary Poppins is legendary. The typical image of a bad Cockney is that of lovable chimney sweep singing a cheerful duet with Julie Andrews. East London's accent, which comes from the working class, is a popular choice for British casting. He was so bad, he apologized for it while accepting a BAFTA in his 91st year. Said Dick Van Dyke, quote, "I appreciate this opportunity to apologize to the members of BAFTA for inflicting on them the most atrocious Cockney accent in the history of cinema." Number 5. Michael Caine as Jonathan in The Hand, 1981. Directed by none other than Oliver Stone, this flick has a rather unusual twist for a horror movie. You see, the killer in The Hand isn't some deranged psychopath or supernatural entity. No, it's something way more bizarre. A disembodied hand. Yep, it's true. The hand belongs to a cartoonist who lost it in a tragic accident, and it's not your typical handy helper. Instead, the hand goes on a killing spree, taking out people it's angry at. Imagine trying to act alongside a murderous hand. That's not your everyday acting challenge. But what's even more surprising is why the legendary Michael Caine took this role in the first place. You'd think he chose it for a riveting plot or a compelling character, right? Well, not quite. It turns out Caine did it for the money. That's right, Caine took on this bizarre gig to fund a home improvement construction project. Number 4. Mickey Rooney as Mr. I.Y. Yunioshi in Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961. Who can forget the classic Breakfast at Tiffany's? But here's the catch. Not everything about this movie has aged gracefully, and it involves one of its actors, Mickey Rooney. Rooney played the character of Mr. I.Y. Yunioshi. And that's where things take a cringeworthy turn. You see, his portrayal involved what we now call yellowface, a practice whereby non-Asian actors play Asian characters using makeup, accents, and other stereotypes. Rooney's take on the character was cranked up to caricature levels, complete with a grotesque accent and even taping his eyes to achieve the look. It was supposed to be funny, but it was not. For years after the film's release, Rooney didn't speak negatively about his performance. But time has a way of changing things, and about 40 years later, he finally voiced his regret. In an interview, he admitted, quote, "I wouldn't have done it." Number 3. Marlon Brando as Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls, 1955. Back in 1955, when Guys and Dolls hit the screens, Frank Sinatra was riding high on his peak, while Marlon Brando was still a young, rising star. You'd think they would be a match made in Hollywood heaven, right? Well, not quite. During shooting, Sinatra didn't hold back on his complaints about Brando's acting. In rehearsals, Brando decided to take an unconventional approach. He intentionally overacted to get under Sinatra's skin. It was like the ultimate showdown between acting styles. But Sinatra had a secret weapon: his incredible vocal talent. He knew he could outshine Brando on the musical front, and he did just that. His harmonious voice performance soared in stark contrast to Brando's, let's say, clumsy baritone. But here's the twist. Even Brando himself admitted his vocal shortcomings. He once quipped, quote, "I couldn't hit a note with a baseball bat. Some notes I missed by extraordinary margins." Number 2. Clint Eastwood as partner in Paint Your Wagon, 1969. Clint Eastwood, the iconic tough guy of Hollywood, decided to take a little detour in his career, straight into the world of musical drama. And trust me, it was a detour he probably wishes he could erase from his memory. Eastwood, known for his rugged cowboy roles and steely-eyed demeanor, singing sappy love songs in a musical. Yup, you heard that right. Eastwood's turn as a romantic freak singing love songs is possibly one of the most hilarious and cringeworthy acting performances of all time. Eastwood serenaded the audience with love songs in the forest, and let's just say it wasn't exactly music to our ears. Now, Eastwood is undeniably a legend in the world of cinema, and his iconic portrayals of characters like the Man with No Name are etched in film history. But this was a blunder of epic proportions. Interestingly, there's a fun twist to this tale. Some say that Russell Crowe, who later wowed us with his role in Les Miserables, might have taken some notes from Clint's unexpected musical venture. Who knows, maybe they had a drink or two around an old jukebox, preparing for their respective roles. Number 1. Bela Lugosi as Ghoul Man in Plan 9 from Outer Space, 1956. Let's dive into the tale of Hollywood tragedy, the likes of which make you appreciate the highs and lows of the silver screen. We're talking about the legendary Bela Lugosi, famous for one iconic role, Dracula. When Lugosi donned the cape and fangs back in 1931, he became one of cinema's earliest and greatest villains. His portrayal of Dracula oozed horror and sophistication, setting the stage for countless memorable movie baddies to come. However, as life went on, Lugosi's later years were far from dignified. He battled addiction and drifted towards obscurity. It was during this time that he crossed paths with the infamous Z movie director Ed Wood. Now, Ed had some wild ideas, and he saw potential in Lugosi, even in his less glamorous days. So he filmed Lugosi doing all sorts of peculiar things, like strolling in and out of Tor Johnson's home, and dramatically spreading his cape as if Dracula himself had risen from the grave. Here's where the tragic twist comes in. There was no script or clear direction for this footage. It was a mishmash of Lugosi's performances, captured without a clear purpose. After Lugosi's passing, Ed Wood decided to salvage this footage and use it in his new project, Plan 9 from Outer Space. It was an attempt to inject some star power into his struggling film. But little did they know, Plan 9 would go on to earn the dubious honor of being regarded as one of the worst movies ever made. The sad reality is that Lugosi, a cinematic legend, was posthumously reduced to a cameo in a film known for all the wrong reasons. He never even had a say in the matter. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more juicy Hollywood gossip, hit that thumbs up button and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next video. Which of these performances surprised you the most? Which do you think was the worst? And do you have other picks for the worst acting performances in Hollywood history? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.